It was a serene morning in Galilee. The sun was still shy on the horizon, casting its first rays over the calm waters of the Sea of Galilee. Jesus and his disciples boarded a small boat, leaving behind the vibrant fishing towns and the green hills. Crossing the sea always brought with it a sense of mystery and adventure, but that morning, there was a tension in the air, as if something grandiose was about to happen. After hours of sailing under the blue sky, they spotted the coast of the Gadarenes. The land stretched out before them, a region known for its predominantly Gentile population. Gadara, the capital, was famous for its rich culture and Hellenistic influences, a striking contrast to the Jewish communities Jesus frequently visited. Arriving in the land of the Gadarenes meant that Jesus' message was reaching beyond known borders, touching the hearts and minds of diverse peoples. They disembarked near a large port, where merchant ships came and went, transporting goods and people from various parts of the ancient world. The bustling port reflected the cultural diversity of the region, with languages and customs mingling in a vibrant mosaic. Jesus, with his calm demeanor and compassionate gaze, observed the activity around him, aware that this place would host a significant encounter. As they walked along the dirt road leading inland, the local community began to notice the presence of Jesus and his disciples. Curious and even skeptical, the residents of the Gadarenes came from different backgrounds, Greeks, Romans, and other Gentiles, to see what this man from Nazareth had to say. There was a mix of hope and disbelief in the air, as many had heard about Jesus' miracles and the transformative power of his words. The simple houses and bustling markets of the villages provided a picturesque backdrop for the Master's arrival. The shadows of olive trees stretched along the path, where children played and adults discussed the latest news. Among the crowd, some watched with interest, while others stayed on the sidelines, observing cautiously. Jesus, noticing the diversity around him, felt the importance of that moment. He knew that his mission was not limited to a single group but was intended for all people, regardless of their origin or belief. With his disciples by his side, he continued to walk, ready to touch lives and transform hearts in the land of Gadara. As they ventured deeper into the region, the environment began to change. The green hills gave way to more arid landscapes, and the sound of running water became more frequent. The community of the Gadarenes was about to witness something extraordinary, something that would forever change the dynamics of the region and leave an indelible mark on their lives. If you are feeling motivated and inspired by this content, make sure to check if you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss more videos like this. We will bring a series of content with biblical teachings and inspiring stories that motivate us to continue and not give up. Let's continue with the story. As Jesus and his disciples advanced along the dirt road that extended beyond the bustling port of the Gadarenes, the atmosphere around them began to change. The hum of conversations and the constant noise of boats gave way to a heavy silence, interrupted only by the distant sound of animals and the wind gently blowing through the trees. It was as if the very earth was waiting for the next great event. Suddenly, from among the shadows of the tombs that marked the arid landscape, emerged an imposing and terrifying figure. It was a man with a wild appearance, with disheveled hair that fell disorderly over his face, and eyes that reflected an inner turmoil. His garments were torn and dirty, bearing witness to the chaos and destruction he had endured. This man was not only suffering physically but also spiritually, carrying the weight of an invisible battle that few could comprehend. The possessed man exhibited violent and unpredictable behaviors. At times, he would scream with an intensity that made the ground tremble, while at other moments, he would weep inconsolably, trapped in a spiral of despair and pain. His physical strength was astonishing, capable of breaking chains that tried to contain him, and his presence exuded a disturbing energy that left onlookers scared and uncomfortable. He lived in isolation, away from the local community, kept apart not only by his condition but also by the fear and misunderstanding of those around him. The residents avoided passing near the tombs, already dark and laden with ancient stories, and the presence of this man only heightened the aura of mystery and fear surrounding them. When Jesus and his disciples arrived at the location, the scene was one of pure turmoil. The possessed man was at the height of his torment, attacking anything that moved towards him and shouting words that seemed to come from a place of deep anguish. His movements were erratic, alternating between uncontrolled violence and moments of apparent calm, as if he were fighting an internal battle that no one else could see. The disciples, already accustomed to the challenges and complexities of Jesus' ministry, looked with concern at the man. They knew the accounts of Jesus' miracles and healings, but were also aware of the intensity of the situations they faced. However, this encounter would be different from anything they had witnessed before. Jesus, with his compassionate gaze and serene presence, approached the man without hesitation. There was an unwavering calm in his steps, a confidence in what was to come. Those present felt a mix of hope and apprehension, hope that Jesus' intervention would bring relief, and apprehension in the face of the situation's intensity. As Jesus drew nearer, the possessed man began to display even more agitation, perhaps recognizing the authority and power emanating from Jesus. His screams grew louder, and his movements more uncontrolled, reflecting the battle between the light that Jesus represented and the darkness that dominated him. It was at this crucial moment that the true nature of Jesus' mission would be revealed spectacularly, demonstrating not only his power over spiritual forces, but also his deep compassion and desire to free those trapped in invisible prisons. As Jesus and his disciples advanced along the road winding between the tombs, they spotted a desolate scene that revealed the gravity of the situation. There, near the silent shores, stood the possessed man, a tragic and terrifying figure that evoked both fear and compassion. The man was chained with heavy iron links, tied to large stones buried in the dry ground. The chains, meant to contain his immense strength, were visibly worn and rusted, the result of continuous attempts to restrict his violent movements. However, despite efforts to keep him under control, the chains repeatedly broke, unable to withstand the excessive force the man possessed. His appearance reflected the internal turmoil he lived. The man's body was marked by wounds and bruises, evidence of constant struggles with himself and any external attempts at containment. Stones, used as instruments of torture, were scattered around him, some still clutched in his trembling hands, others strewn across the arid ground. His skin was broken from the blows, revealing open wounds that bled silently, symbolizing the relentless battle between the man and the demons that possessed him. The man's eyes were particularly expressive, revealing a mix of agony, despair, and a deep sense of abandonment. There were moments when his eyes gleamed with a disturbing intensity, as if an invisible force was driving him to act erratically and destructively. At other times, they shrank, reflecting a palpable vulnerability, a silent plea for relief and redemption. The man's voice also told his own story of suffering. His cries echoed through the region, varying between outbursts of anger and desolate sobs. Each sound seemed to carry the weight of a tormented soul, unable to find peace or comfort. The words coming from his mouth were often disconnected, fragments of chaotic thoughts that revealed the depth of his despair. The presence of this man in the Gadarenes community had become a symbol of fear and taboo. People avoided passing by the tombs where he resided, fearing witnessing his violent outbursts or being affected by his disturbing presence. Previous attempts to contain the man with chains and restraints only highlighted the overwhelming strength of the demons possessing him, making it clear that his condition was beyond human control. The isolation imposed on the possessed man had a devastating impact on his social and emotional life. He was separated from the community, not only physically but also spiritually, living in a state of constant conflict and suffering. The lack of support and understanding intensified his despair, making him a prisoner of both body and mind. When Jesus approached, accompanied by his disciples, the scene was intensely palpable. The man, upon seeing Jesus' presence, reacted even more erratically, as if recognizing the authority and power emanating from the Master. His violent actions increased, attempting to break the chains once more, as if desperately seeking a way out of his spiritual prison. The detailed description of the possessed man's position not only illustrates the severity of his possession, but also highlights human impotence in the face of spiritual forces. The broken chains, self-inflicted wounds, and relentless struggle reflect the depth of desolation and destruction the demons caused in his life. This setting paves the way for Jesus' miraculous intervention, which is about to profoundly and irreversibly transform the man's life. Do you feel a resemblance between the moment you live and the story told? Do you feel you are experiencing something similar? Tell us how you feel. If you need a prayer or help, share a story of overcoming to inspire us and give us strength not to give up. Comment if you want to help someone or need help. As Jesus approached the possessed man, an atmosphere of tension and anticipation filled the air. The disciples watched closely, aware that they were about to witness a miracle that defied human understanding. The man, still amidst his fits of fury and despair, fixed his eyes on Jesus with an almost palpable intensity. It was as if, in that instant, an invisible battle was about to reach its climax. The demons inhabiting the man, recognizing Jesus' divine authority and power, acted with desperate urgency. Amidst the possessed man's screams and violent movements, a voice echoed from within him, filled with fear and supplication. "Do not torment us before the time," the demons begged, their voice resonating with a mix of fear and acknowledgement of Jesus' superiority. The crowd gathered around witnessed the scene with a blend of astonishment and fear. Some murmured among themselves, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what they were seeing, while others kept a respectful distance, fearing to be touched by the supernatural presence permeating the environment. Jesus, with his unwavering calm and penetrating gaze, turned to the possessed man and with a voice emanating authority and compassion, asked, "What is your name?" The question seemed simple, but carried significant weight. It was a search for identity, an attempt to understand the complexity of the internal struggle that the man faced. The response came as a dark echo, reflecting the vastness of the darkness that had taken over the possessed man's soul. "Legion," the man declared, his voice imbued with deep melancholy. The word legion was not just a name but a sign of the multitude of evil forces that had invaded his life. In Roman language, a legion consisted of about 3,000 soldiers, clearly indicating the overwhelming number of demons possessing the man. The revelation of legion brought a respectful silence among those present. It was an indication of the severity of the possession, a reminder of the spiritual battle about to take place. The disciples, already familiar with accounts of spiritual confrontations, understood that they were facing a monumental challenge, but also knew they were in the presence of Jesus' supreme power. The demons, realizing they were about to be confronted by Jesus, showed a deep understanding of their imminent defeat. "Send us to the herd of pigs over there," they pleaded, an attempt to avoid complete destruction that they knew was coming. It was a survival strategy, even if it meant transferring their wickedness to other living beings. The choice of pigs as receptacles for the demons was symbolic and laden with meaning. In Jewish culture, pigs were considered unclean, representing decay and corruption. The demons' submission to Jesus' will, choosing these animals for their release, underscored Jesus' complete authority over all creatures, whether human or animal. Jesus, demonstrating his absolute sovereignty, granted the demons' request. "Send them," he commanded firmly, his voice resonating with a certainty that left no room for doubt or hesitation. This command was not just a release of the demons but a declaration of victory over the forces of darkness, a testament to the transformative power of his mission. Jesus' decision to allow the demons to enter the pigs would be the prelude to one of the most impressive miracles recorded in the Gospels. It was an act that would demonstrate not only his compassion and desire to free those trapped in spiritual captivity, but also the extent of his authority beyond human boundaries, reaching the spiritual realm with unparalleled power. As the tension in the air increased, Jesus remained serene in front of the possessed man. His eyes, full of compassion and determination, fixed on the man, conveying unwavering confidence. The disciples watched attentively, feeling the magnitude of the moment about to unfold. It was clear to all that something extraordinary was about to happen, an act that would demonstrate not only Jesus' physical strength but also his unmatched spiritual authority. With a firm and authoritative voice, Jesus proclaimed, "Come out of this man, unclean spirit." His words echoed through the silent environment, carrying a power that seemed to cut through the very air. The possessed man, upon hearing Jesus' command, paused for a moment, as if Jesus' mere authority had an immediate effect on him. There was a glimmer of recognition in the man's eyes, an understanding that the one before him possessed supreme power. The demons, now aware of Jesus' authority, reacted immediately. A strong and terrifying voice emerged from the man, manifesting the presence of the evil spirits inhabiting him. "Do not torment us before the time," the demons pleaded, demonstrating both fear and submission before Jesus' power. It was as if the spirits themselves recognized they were facing a force that surpassed any evil power they could exert. Jesus, maintaining his compassionate gaze, asked the man, "What is your name?" The response came from within the man, filled with sadness and despair: Legion. The name Legion symbolized the large number of demons inhabiting that man, a legion composed of about 3,000 evil spirits. The revelation of the magnitude of the possession intensified the need for a powerful and definitive intervention. With his supreme authority, Jesus ordered the demons to leave the man. "Go out of this man, unclean spirits." Jesus declared with conviction that left no room for doubt or hesitation. The atmosphere around seemed to vibrate with the energy of this divine command. The disciples felt a wave of reverence and fear, recognizing the depth of the power they were witnessing. The demons, realizing they were facing an unbeatable force, begged to be sent into a herd of pigs nearby. "Send us to the herd of pigs over there," they pleaded, attempting to escape complete expulsion and destruction. It was a survival strategy, even if it meant transferring their malevolent influence to other living beings. Jesus, demonstrating his absolute authority over all creatures, accepted the demons' request. "Send yourselves," he ordered firmly, his voice resonating with certainty that left no room for doubt. At that moment, Jesus' authority over spiritual forces was clearly manifested. He not only had the power to free the man, but also the ability to determine the fate of the evil spirits inhabiting him. Jesus' decision to allow the demons to enter the pigs was an act of power and compassion. The pigs, symbolizing impurity and decay in the local culture, became the receptacles for the evil spirits. As the demons entered the animals, an immediate transformation occurred. The pigs, already considered unclean, began to behave violently and uncontrollably, reflecting the influence of the evil spirits now inhabiting them. The scene was breathtaking. The pigs, a herd of about 2,000, rushed towards the sea, trampling everything in their path until they drowned in the deep waters. The deafening sound of the pigs' hooves against the dry ground echoed through the region, blending with the startled and fearful cries of the residents witnessing the extraordinary event. It was a visible and audible manifestation of Jesus' power, a miracle that made it clear his authority transcended both the physical and spiritual worlds. The disciples, already witnesses to countless miracles, were amazed by Jesus' demonstration of power. They realized they were in the presence of someone who held absolute dominion over the forces of evil, someone capable of bringing liberation and transformation where there was once only despair and destruction. The liberation of the possessed man and the subsequent destruction of the pigs served as undeniable testimony of Jesus' divinity and his messianic purpose. The region's residents, upon witnessing this miracle, were deeply impacted. Many were terrified by the sight of the pigs drowning, while others were amazed by the transformation of the possessed man. Jesus' demonstration of authority over the demons not only freed that man but also spread the news of Christ's transformative power throughout the region, enhancing his reputation as the Savior and Liberator. The liberation of the Gadarenean possessed man through Jesus' authority was a significant milestone in that man's life and the local community. The destructive force of the demons was neutralized by Jesus' divine power, bringing new hope and tangible proof of Jesus' mission to bring liberation and salvation to all trapped in spiritual captivity. Like, if you are enjoying this, to help YouTube continue recommending videos like this and to support us, motivating us to continue. We appreciate every second, and may God bless you. After Jesus granted the demons' request and allowed them to enter the herd of pigs, the immediate impact of this act began to manifest dramatically and impressively. The atmosphere around was charged with tension, and everyone present eagerly awaited the unfolding events that would demonstrate the true extent of Jesus' power. The pigs, animals already considered unclean and a symbol of decay in the local culture, began to behave abruptly and wildly. The herd, composed of about 2,000 pigs, which had previously grazed peacefully in the nearby fields, was now overtaken by frenetic and uncontrolled energy. The animals let out piercing screams, a mix of fright and agitation echoing through the surroundings. With immense strength, the pigs charged towards the sea. Their feet pounded violently against the dry ground, raising clouds of dust that momentarily obscured the vision of the residents. The chaotic run reflected the destructive influence of the demons that had possessed them, turning an ordinary herd into a force of pure chaos. The sight of the pigs racing towards the sea caused a frenzy among those present. People who were initially curious and intrigued were now panicking in front of the unfolding scene. The animals' cries blended with the exclamations of astonishment and fear from the residents, creating a cacophonic turmoil that filled the air. The pigs, in their uncontrolled fury, advanced without apparent direction, colliding with any obstacles in their path. Nearby structures, such as houses and tents, were shaken by the relentless impacts, demonstrating the devastating force the animals, now possessed, wielded. The sound of their hooves against the ground resonated like thunder, amplifying the sensory impact of the event. The region's residents, who had watched the liberation of the possessed man with a mix of fear and hope, were terrified upon witnessing the herd of enraged pigs. Many tried to flee the area, while others remained paralyzed by fear, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Some expressed their perplexity and fear in anxious whispers. "What is happening? Is this the work of an evil spirit?" Others, with wide eyes and pale faces, pointed to the pigs disappearing on the horizon, carrying with them the vivid memory of the miracle and Jesus' authority. The destruction caused by the pigs was evident in every detail. Previously trodden paths were now marked by deep footprints and signs of devastation. Objects were thrown far away, and the environment that was once orderly and calm had transformed into a scene of chaos and desolation. The impact of this event was not limited to the present moment. The fall of the pigs and their subsequent drowning in the sea left an indelible mark on the memories of the Gadarenes' residents. Jesus' demonstration of power was visceral and undeniable, reinforcing the perception that he possessed an authority that transcended any existing human or spiritual understanding in that region. The physical destruction caused by the pigs symbolically reflected the spiritual liberation of the possessed man. Just as the pigs were carried away by the sea, the man was freed from his physical and spiritual chains, symbolizing the complete purification and renewal Jesus brought to that place. After the pigs fell into the sea, a sepulchral silence took over the region. The residents, still shocked by what they had witnessed, began to reflect on what had just occurred. Many wondered about the nature of the possessed man and the power of Jesus they had just seen. Some saw it as a clear sign of divine presence, while others remained skeptical, unable to reconcile the vision with their previous beliefs. However, for those who saw the man before his liberation and now saw him free from his torments, the transformation was even more impactful. The man's new appearance, calm and dressed, starkly contrasted with his previous state of possession and despair. His liberation not only demonstrated Jesus' power, but also inspired hope that redemption and transformation were possible for all who sought divine help. The pig's fall into the sea marked the climax of the encounter between Jesus and the possessed man. It was an event that not only freed the man from his physical and spiritual chains, but also served as a powerful testimony to the Gadarenes community. Jesus' authority over spiritual forces and the transformation he could bring were evident in a clear and impactful way, leaving a lasting impression on all present. This event strengthened Jesus' reputation as a powerful liberator and brought a new understanding to the residents about the nature of his mission. The mix of astonishment, fear, and reverence that permeated the residents' reaction reflected the complexity of human emotions in the face of the supernatural, making the story even richer and more significant for those who knew it and passed it on. After the dramatic expulsion of the demons and the subsequent fall of the pigs into the sea, a heavy silence hung over the region of the Gadarenes. The crowd, still stunned by the events they had just witnessed, watched in silence as the man who had once lived in torment began to emerge from his state of possession. The man, previously chained and covered in wounds, was now completely different. His garments, once torn and dirty, were impeccably clean and orderly. His skin, once marked by bruises and cuts, had regenerated, showing a healthy and vigorous appearance. He was sitting calmly beside Jesus, a striking contrast to his former state of savagery and despair. The silence following the miracle was filled with a palpable sense of peace. The man, who had been tormented by a legion of demons, now exhibited serene tranquility. His eyes, once filled with agony and fear, sparkled with gratitude and understanding. He breathed calmly and controlled, demonstrating an emotional balance that seemed impossible before Jesus' intervention. Jesus' disciples, who had already witnessed countless miracles, were deeply moved to see the complete transformation of the man. They exchanged looks of admiration and reverence, recognizing the depth of Jesus' power. The crowd witnessing the miracle also reacted in various ways. Some fell to their knees in adoration, others raised their hands in praise, and many whispered among themselves, incredulous at the magnitude of what they had seen. With his freedom restored, the possessed man stood up and with a clear and firm voice began to speak. "I was lost in the darkness, surrounded by horrors I could not understand. But Jesus came and freed me. Now, I see the light and feel a peace I never thought possible." His words resonated with sincerity and emotion, deeply touching the hearts of all who heard him. The man's gratitude towards Jesus was evident in every gesture and word. He approached Jesus, extended his hands in a gesture of thanks, and said, "Thank you, Master. You not only freed me but gave me a new life." Jesus, with a compassionate smile, placed his hand on the man's shoulder, acknowledging the complete transformation that had occurred. The transformation of the possessed man had a profound impact on the Gadarenes community. News of the miracle spread quickly, bringing a new wave of faith and hope among the residents. Many began to see Jesus as the promised Savior, someone who possessed the power to bring liberation and healing where there was once only despair. Jesus instructed the freed man to return to his home and tell people what God had done for him. "Go and share your story," Jesus said. The man, now a living witness to Christ's transformative power, fulfilled the instruction with enthusiasm. He became a living example of Jesus' kindness and mercy, inspiring others to seek the same liberation and transformation. The man's life changed radically after his liberation. He became a respected figure in the community, helping others in need and sharing his experience to strengthen the faith of those who doubted. His transformation was not only physical but also spiritual and emotional, reflecting the depth of Jesus' intervention in his life. The complete liberation of the possessed man highlighted the profound transformation brought about by Jesus' intervention. Not only was he freed from spiritual captivity, but he also received a new identity and purpose. His story became a powerful narrative of redemption and renewal, emphasizing Jesus' ability to bring life where there was previously only death and despair. After the miraculous liberation and complete transformation of the possessed man, the atmosphere in the region of the Gadarenes was filled with intense emotions. The local community, once living surrounded by fear and misunderstanding, was now witnessing an extraordinary event that challenged their beliefs and expectations. The man, still shaken by the recent experience, felt a deep admiration and gratitude towards Jesus. His heart was overflowing with emotions, and he longed to remain by Jesus' side, follow his steps, and learn more about the source of his compassion and power. He looked at Jesus with eyes full of reverence, feeling a spiritual connection he had never experienced before. "I want to follow you, Master," the man said sincerely, extending his hands in a gesture of submission and devotion. "I want to learn from you and serve wherever needed." However, Jesus looked deeply into the man's eyes and recognized the true need for his transformation and integration into the community. With a compassionate smile, he responded, "Return to your home and tell what God has done for you. Let your story be a testimony of my mission and bring faith and hope to those around you. Go and share your experience with your family, friends, and neighbors. Speak about the liberation you received and how my presence changed your life. Your story can inspire others to seek the same liberation and transformation you found." With a heart full of gratitude and a new mission, the man stood up and began to walk back to his home. Each step he took was an affirmation of his new life, free from the physical and spiritual chains that had imprisoned him. The broken chains and self-inflicted wounds became distant memories, replaced by a sense of peace and renewed purpose. Upon arriving at his home, he was greeted with surprise and relief by his family, who had witnessed his struggles and isolation. Without hesitation, the man began to share in detail what had happened. He spoke about Jesus' presence, the authority with which he commanded the demons, and the complete transformation he had experienced. "Before, I lived in constant fear and pain, trapped by forces I could not understand. But Jesus came and freed me. He gave me a new life and a purpose. Now, I want to share this experience so that others can also find the peace and freedom I have found." News of the man's liberation and transformation quickly spread throughout the Gadarenes community. People, initially skeptical and fearful, began to listen more attentively and with interest. The story of the freed man served as a powerful testimony of Jesus' power and compassion, awakening a new wave of curiosity and faith among the residents. Many began to reflect on their own lives and the possibilities of redemption and transformation. The inspiring story of the possessed man who now lived in peace encouraged others to seek Jesus' presence, desiring to experience the same spiritual liberation. The testimony of the freed man had a lasting impact on the region. He became a respected and influential figure, not only for being liberated but also for his willingness to openly share his story. His personal transformation served as a living example of hope and renewal, strengthening the faith of those who heard his narrative. Families and neighbors who initially doubted began to approach Jesus, curious to learn more about the man who had been so dramatically transformed. Conversations about faith and redemption became more frequent, creating an environment of openness and receptivity to Jesus' messages. Over time, Jesus' presence and testimonies of transformations like that of the possessed man contributed to the strengthening of faith in the region of the Gadarenes. People began to realize that Jesus' message was not just for some but for everyone, regardless of their origin or condition. The community, once marked by fear and exclusion, began to flourish with new hope and a sense of unity. The story of the freed man became a cornerstone for the dissemination of faith, inspiring others to seek the same liberation and transformation in their own lives. As news of the miracle spread, Jesus continued his mission, visiting other regions and touching lives with his transformative presence. The liberation of the Gadarenean possessed man was just one of many testimonies that demonstrated his supreme authority and his desire to bring liberation and salvation to all who sought his help. Through stories like this, Jesus' message gained strength and resonance, reaching the hearts and minds of people from all walks of life. The Gadarenes community became a living example of Christ's power to transform lives and strengthen faith, serving as an ongoing testimony of his divine mission. As the freed man shared his story with the Gadarenes community, a silent yet powerful transformation began to take place. The miracle he had experienced was not just an isolated event, but a catalyst for broader change in the lives of those around him. His story of liberation resonated deeply, touching hearts and minds, and planting seeds of faith and hope where there was once despair and fear. The liberation of the possessed man is a vivid testimony of Jesus' transformative power. He not only removed the physical and spiritual chains that imprisoned the man, but also gave him a new identity and purpose. This act of compassion and divine authority demonstrates that, regardless of adversities and forces that try to keep us bound, divine intervention can bring complete liberation and renewal. The freed man's testimony serves as a powerful reminder of the impact a single transformed life can have on an entire community. By sharing his experience, he not only strengthened his own faith, but also inspired others to seek the same transformation. This illustrates the importance of sharing our stories of overcoming and redemption, as they have the power to inspire and encourage those around us to believe in possibilities of change and healing. Jesus' demonstration of authority over spiritual forces is a central element of this story. He showed that his mission goes beyond healing physical ailments. He came to free people from the spiritual bonds that hold them captive. This supreme authority over evil and corruption reaffirms Jesus' divinity and his ability to bring true peace and freedom to those who follow him. This story invites us to reflect on our own lives and the chains we may be carrying, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual. Just like the possessed man, we all face internal battles that can keep us trapped and isolated. Jesus' intervention reminds us that, regardless of the severity of our struggles, there is always the possibility of liberation and renewal through faith. The complete transformation of the possessed man is not just an isolated miracle, but a promise that true change is possible for everyone. It encourages us to believe that, with faith and support, we can overcome the most difficult challenges and emerge stronger and more complete than ever before. The story of the Gadarenes possessed man is a beacon of hope, illuminating the path for those seeking liberation and a renewed life. As we reflect on the story of the Gadarenes possessed man, we are inspired to believe in the power of transformation and the capacity for overcoming through faith. This narrative reminds us that, regardless of circumstances, there is always an opportunity to be reborn and find inner peace. It is a call to open our hearts, trust in divine power, and share our own stories of hope and renewal with the world around us. May we carry with us the message that true freedom and transformation are within our reach, and that with faith and determination, we can overcome any obstacle and live lives filled with purpose, peace, and joy. Let the story of this possessed man serve as a constant reminder that, with Jesus, all things are possible and that light always triumphs over darkness. Today, I invite you to reflect on a powerful story that transcends time and continues to inspire hearts around the world: the story of the Gadarenes possessed man. It is a narrative of despair and isolation, but also of liberation and renewal, a true journey of faith that teaches us profound lessons about the capacity for transformation that resides within each of us. Imagine living in a constant state of turmoil, where invisible forces imprison you and keep you away from a full life. The man possessed by the demons of the Gadarenes knew this reality well. He was chained, both physically and spiritually, living on the margins of society, consumed by violent and self-destructive behaviors. His condition was so severe that no one could contain him, reflecting the destructive strength of the internal battles many of us face. But then, something extraordinary happened. Jesus, with his serene presence and supreme authority, arrived at that place. He did not come just to observe but to act, to liberate. With a simple command, he expelled the demons, bringing peace and complete transformation to the man. From a state of chaos and suffering, he became a living testimony of renewal and hope. This story reminds us of the immense power of faith and divine authority. Jesus demonstrated that no matter how intense the forces that bind us, there is always a possibility of liberation. He shows us that faith is not just a passive belief but an active force that can transform our lives in unimaginable ways. When we face our own demons, whether they are fears, insecurities, addictions, or traumas, we can draw inspiration from the courage of the possessed man and Jesus' determination. The message is clear: transformation is possible. With faith, we can break the chains that imprison us and find the peace we so desperately seek. After his liberation, the man did not remain silent. He was instructed to return to his home and tell people what God had done for him. This testimony not only strengthened the community's faith, but also inspired others to seek the same transformation. Our own stories of overcoming can be a powerful source of inspiration for those around us. Each of us has a unique story of struggle and victory. By sharing our experiences, we not only celebrate our own journey but also offer hope and encouragement to those still seeking the light at the end of the tunnel. Never underestimate the impact your testimony can have on another person's life. The transformation of the possessed man is a testament to the renewal that Jesus can bring into our lives. He not only frees us from the bonds that hold us, but also gives us a new purpose and identity. Just like that man, we can emerge from our own challenges stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our true selves. This renewal empowers us to live with more purpose, pursue our dreams, and help others find their own freedom and peace. The story encourages us to embrace change, trust the transformation process, and believe that, with faith, we can overcome any obstacle. The story of the Gadarenes possessed man is more than a tale of liberation. It is a call to action and faith. It inspires us to believe in the power of transformation, to value our personal testimonies, and to seek the peace and renewal that are within our reach. Regardless of the battles we face, there is always hope for renewal. With faith and determination, we can break the chains that bind us and live lives filled with purpose, peace, and joy. Let us draw inspiration from this story to seek the light, share our journey, and transform our lives and the lives of those around us. May faith guide us, hope strengthen us, and love unite us in a continuous journey of transformation and renewal. Amen. Thank you for watching up to here, and don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to see more content like this and stories of overcoming, motivation, and interesting topics. Until next time.